Hello, everybody. Greetings and salutations and happy Monday. Today's topic is the different diagnosis of mental health and how it affects an individual. And especially since we are a veteran organization and we primarily help assist and educate veterans and their families. However, everybody suffers from mental health. So we will provide services, education, and resources to the community. And first of all, I am not a doctor. I am not a VSO, which is Veterans Service Organization. I am not an accredited agent and or a lawyer. However, for the past 5 years, I have been the chairman of the Mental Health Advocacy Council, an advocate the last year and a half, the president and CEO of Five Star Veterans Coalition. So I'm quite versed in the VA system, Social Security system, and how to help you and educate you and navigate you through these different systems, and of course help you to get jobs or other resources that best fit the individual. We will first discuss what is mental health, and I will be sharing my screen. One second. This is all new to me, so please stand by. Here we go, I found it. My apologies for the delay. So what is mental health? Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. Over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, your thinking, mood, and behavior could be affected. Many factors contribute to mental health problems, including biological factors such as genes or brain chemistry, life experiences such as trauma or abuse, family history of mental health problems. And here are the early warning signs. So pretty much the gist of it is if you don't get along with others, you have drinking or substance abuse problems, you have family issues, you've been going to jail, homeless, depressed, anxiety, PTSD, feeling hopeless, having different brain injuries, and the big one nowadays is COVID. And we will get into those different topics tonight during our show, especially since it is related to mental health, and the show is Mental Health Mondays. So hopefully you guys found good information of what is mental health. Also, too, don't be afraid or ashamed of having mental health. As stated, it can affect us at different stages in our life, and the important part is realizing that and seeking help through someone close to you, calling the suicide hotline if you feel like you will want to hurt yourself, reaching out to a doctor, a friend, family member, anybody. The next topic we are discussing for mental health is I have to share my screen again. PTSD. especially for veterans. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And that could be from experiencing trauma, death, killings, military sexual trauma, brain injuries, like I stated, depressed, I think I said harassment, and other challenges that occur. And symptoms of PTSD, basically reliving the event. That's if you're always thinking about it, it's always on your mind. It interferes with your day-to-day activities to move forward and live a more positive lifestyle, avoidance of those issues. So let's say, for example, you used to shoot guns in the military, and the sound of fireworks, so 4th of July, for example, or New Year's, that may want you to avoid the situation, or you've been harassed while you're in your military or your civilian career, you may not want to deal with people as much. Negative emotions, so that's having negative feelings. Hypervigilance or hyperarousal. I know while I was dealing with my severe mental health, that affected me a lot. I always felt like I was on alert. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, sweating, checking to make sure the windows are locked, the doors are locked. My family, I'm always checking my SIX, which is your back in the military, and checking my surroundings to make sure everything was safe for myself and or my family. Excuse me. And then good ways to manage your PTSD are lifestyle changes. So that could be volunteering for organization, eating healthy, exercising, avoiding some certain situations that you encountered previously. Avoid alcohol, drugs, or other substances. And a lot of times too, with these mental health issues, certain medications are for everybody too, but sometimes as patients we are often overly medicated, which may help with that mental health problem, but can create a lot more other issues, which can lead to worse health and or worse behavior. So what we are trying to do, with Five Star Veterans Coalition, the people that we are connected to, is healthier options and doing everything without medications or drugs. Case by case, though, everything's case by case. You could also join mindfulness, so that's meditation, something positive that you enjoy doing, or spirituality, optimism, because one issue that if you have mental health, it can be called ants. Ants is angry, negative thoughts. So if you're always having angry, negative thoughts all the time, that's not thinking positive, and that can lead to some sort of destructive behavior for yourself or somebody else. Like I stated, peer groups, so that's a peer-to-peer, the VA or other organizations in your community may have those peer support groups where someone like yourself may have been in similar situations dealing with mental health, physical health, and some sort of substance abuse. And an emotional support animal, so that is if you have a dog, you can have it be a service animal, and that animal can basically comfort you if it's for depression, seizures, or many other issues. And you know, who doesn't love animals? So that is PTSD. And if you have any questions while you're viewing, feel free to comment down below and I'll answer your question. Or if at any time in this live show or future live shows you would like to be included and be on the panel and have a discussion, I have the capabilities of inviting you on, and we can discuss this on the live. The next topic is depression. Once I find it, here it is. And as stated before, if you are having thoughts of suicide, please call this number, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And here's the number, 800-273-8255. I did happen to call that number before, prior to being chairman, because I had issues. And then as chairman, on the other side of things of helping people now, to see what steps they take to help the individual to not harm themselves. It's a very good hot lifeline to call, so please utilize that if you feel like you need it, and share that with other people. Put it in your phone contacts, put it in your notes, put it next to your computer, desk, refrigerator, put it somewhere that's visible if you are dealing with mental health. Now back to depression. Depression is classified as a mood disorder. It may be described as feelings of sadness, loss, or anger that interfere with a person's everyday activities. And grief. Grief is a big one too, especially if you have a loss of a loved one due to possibly suicide or a death somehow that may have been a mistake. Accident or falling down the stairs or falling, some sort of behavior that caused that unsuspecting death. So imagine how that toll can affect not only the parents, but the family members, people close to them, and loved ones, and how not many people may have experienced that. So how it can affect that person mentally and trickle down the line into the community, because most people never been in those shoes. So how can they understand? And depression too. I know, having my mental health, I do have the days where I have depression. I have PTSD. Another topic I'm about to get into is brain injury. I've had quite a few of those. So I take different steps, as stated earlier, to help manage those issues. And as I think I stated too, having mental health and physical pain. So our body is not technically in tune, and your body is off balance, and it creates a lot of other issues because you have those things fighting each other. And especially if you're not mentally, physically, spiritually, or financially. So if you have one of those off balance, you're not in line to fulfill your higher purpose and reach your highest potential in your life. And that can create different effects throughout your body. As stated right here, conditions can get worse due to depression, include arthritis, asthma, cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and obesity. Those signs and symptoms for those who are not aware: feeling sad, anxious, or empty, hopeless, worthless, and pessimistic, crying a lot, feeling bothered, annoyed, or angry, loss of interest in hobbies and interests you once enjoyed, decreased energy or fatigue, difficulty concentrating, remembering, or making decisions, moving or talking more slowly, difficulty sleeping, early morning awakening or oversleeping, appetite or weight changes, chronic physical pain with no clear cause that does not get better with treatment, such as headaches, aches and pains, digestive problems, cramps. I know I suffered with that significantly. thoughts of death, suicide, self-harm, or suicide attempts, destructive behavior, and just the difference between what males and females experienced, children, the different causes, so brain chemistry, hormone level, family history, early childhood trauma, your brain structure, medical conditions, substance use, and pain. And then another topic that is on the opposite end of depression would be anxiety, which is basically the opposite effects of the depression. So you are very anxious all the time, you have a lot of energy, you think too much, and that can affect you differently as well, and the same, because a lot of these issues do have the same symptoms. I'm not sure what vom.red is. The person who wrote in the comments, but whatever that means, I appreciate it. The next topic we will be discussing is TBI, traumatic brain injury. What is TBI? It is a sudden injury that causes damage to the brain. It may happen when there is a blow, bump, or jolt to the head. This is a closed injury. A TBI can also happen when an object penetrates the skull. This is a penetrating injury. Symptoms of a TBI can be mild, moderate, or severe. Concussions are a type of mild TBI. The effects of a concussion can sometimes be serious, but most people completely recover in time. More severe TBI can lead to serious physical and psychological symptoms, coma, and even death. What causes brain injury? Falls, accidents, motor vehicle accidents, sports injuries, being struck by an object, child abuse, blasts, being hit by a bullet or shrapnel, being hit by a weapon, or an injury that causes a bone fragment to penetrate the skull. And men and those who are 65 and older tend to get TBIs more than females or younger individuals. And then the symptoms, so basically these are residuals, side effects of brain injuries. So loss of consciousness, headache, confusion, lightheadedness, dizziness, blurred vision or tired eyes, ringing in the ears, bad taste in the mouth, fatigue or lethargy, a change in sleeping patterns, behavioral or mood changes, trouble with memory, concentration, attention, or thinking. Then it discusses the moderate or severe, so that is a lot more issues that create a lot more side effects. So hopefully everybody can avoid having an injury or multiple brain injury. And brain injuries are often diagnosed by neurologists who are doctors who study the brain, and a CT scan or MRI imaging. Keep in mind, not all brain injuries show up on an MRI, so it can often be difficult to properly diagnose a brain injury. Different treatments. Basically, you have to heal your brain, and that can take anywhere from a few days and to a few years. And the more brain injuries that you have occurred in your life, of course, your brain will never fully be what it once was. However, you still can live with mild to sometimes moderate brain injuries and still do day-to-day tasks. Excuse me. Rehabilitation therapy. physical therapy, physical strength, coordination, and flexibility, occupational therapy. So that's to help you do day-to-day activities like cooking, laundry, getting dressed, etc. Speech therapy, that's if you have a lot more, can occur at any type of mild, moderate, or severe injury, but your speech is a lot more slurred and it gets worse, the worst type of head injury that you have. Counseling to help you cope and live with that and manage, get along with others, since it does affect your brain and that affects a lot of different parts of your body. Vocational counseling and cognitive therapy. And best ways to prevent TBI is, well, be careful if you're playing sports. Try to drive as safe as possible. However, there is a lot of individuals who do not do that, especially where I live. And try to avoid drugs or alcohol because that can lead to brain injuries often. And lastly, we will discuss MST, which stands for military sexual trauma. So let me try to pull it up on my screen. So this website is the Department of Veterans Affairs, and this is how they view MST. So examples of MST are being pressured or coerced into sexual activities, such as with threats of negative treatment, sexual contact or activity without your consent, when you're asleep or intoxicated, being overpowered or physically forced to have sex, being touched and feeling uncomfortable during hazing experiences, comments about your body, those are the catcalls, and unwanted sexual advantages that you found threatening, And then things you may experience with MST: disturbing memories or nightmares, difficulty feeling safe, feelings of depression or numbness, alcohol or drugs, feeling isolated from other people, difficulties with anger, irritability, or other strong emotions, self-doubt, self-blame, or decreased self-esteem, issues with sleep, physical health problems. So as I stated earlier during this live was how a lot of mental healths have similar and different symptoms and diagnosis. So looking now at the VA, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and how it relates to mental health disability and trying to get a percentage for something that may have occurred while in active duty. And how the VA looks at it is if you have a mental health, they basically put it under one category. They will diagnose you with, if you have depression, anxiety, PTSD. However, it's pretty much under all one umbrella, and they will give you anywhere between 0 to 100% for that mental health issue that you are facing. And a lot of us, not just veterans, but individuals, especially veterans, we are taught to hold it in and not really seek help, or due to manpower can't necessarily go to medical and receive these services. Or if we've been in for a certain amount of time frame, we don't want to risk getting discharged due to mental health. And then that can lead to a lot of other mental health problems either way. So it's while you're in, or if you're facing, like I stated, if you're a civilian and facing these issues, seek the help. And if you can't work due to your mental health, seek the help. learn how to live with your mental health. And if you can't work, try to get some sort of disability to compensate since you're unable to work anymore. Or if you're able to work, well, we can figure out what sort of percentage you can get. And a matter of fact, I have that. I'm going to share it. The different percentage rates. So 0%, as you can see, you have it, but it really doesn't affect you. 10% mild, 30%, it affects you somewhat, trouble functioning. 50% is it starts affecting you a lot more, but you're still able to work. 70%, it affects you a lot more and unable to function in the areas as listed. And then 100%, it affects you basically permanently and more severe and causes you to have stated a lot more severe mental health where you're unable to basically socialize and being a decent human being and citizen of this country. The good thing about this percentages is if you are 0% and you, for a mental health issue or any issue in general, it could be physical too, but you are now rated at that percent, you're not getting any compensation for that percentage. However, due to having 0%, let's say for depression or PTSD, and then let's say later on, because with these mental health issues, especially with PTSD and stuff, they do have onset PTSD. So remember, PTSD can occur immediately, within days, months, or years. So let's say you have that 0% right now, you just got out. A year later, you're unable to work because of your mental health, or you're not getting along with people. So you can kind of gauge off of this rating to see where you're at, and then go off that to see what you deserve. And then you can get treatment still for having that 0% under the mental health system of the VA and receive services at the VA. And then the more you go up, then of course you start having a certain percentage to help you with that disability. Now let's say you have 50% disability rating for the VA. So now at 50%, of course, you'll have a higher monthly check going to your bank account. Also, the benefit of having 50% or more is all of your services at the VA hospital are taken care of, no matter if they're mental or physical or substance, or wherever you fall in line at, whatever you need assistance for. Let me rewind real quick too. Also, having 30% or more disability, you can get what is called travel pay. So if you're living an hour away from the VA hospital and you have an appointment and you have to drive there and back, you can get paid. It's not a lot, but it's better than nothing for that travel expense. And you can also get paid for 30% or more for having dependents. And that's a certain percentage depending what your disability rating is. Now let's move up. With the 70% rating, of course, you are receiving a higher payment as well. And the beauty of 70% is, let's say it affects you when you know you can't work. And the VA has a program, what is called TDIU, Temporary Disability Individual Unemployability, which means you're rated at that 70%, but due to you unable to work, you can actually, and having doctor's letters, you can actually be paid at the 100% rating and receive those benefits as well. Now at the 100% rating, of course, you're at the 100%, and there's a lot of other benefits that I won't get into right now. But all your services. You'll have dental. There's additional payments on top of the 100% rate for you and your family. You can receive what is called, you can get an ID card to go on base. Your family, if you have dependents, they can get free education for up to 36 months. And the best one for that is to be what is called permanent and totally disabled due to your issues, whether that's mental and or physical. And then there's also the VA math that kind of calculates to these different readings. So let's say, for example, you may have 70% for, let me rewind. Let's say you have 60% for, 50% for your mental health. And let's say you have back pain and that is 30%. That does not equal 80% according to the VA math. They may be somewhere about 60 to 70%. And let's say if it's 68, the VA usually rounds up to 70%. If it's below 60, 65 or above, they'll go up to the next higher level. 64 or below, for example, they will only give you the payment of, you will be 64%, but they'll pay you at this 60% rate. So there's a lot of confusion relating to the VA math and how they calculate things. So oops, I did not mean to close that. My apologies. So how to maximize your rating. So what the VA will do is they will send you to a C&P exam, which is compensation and pension examination. So what that basically is, the VA has their own doctors, or they will, send you maybe to somebody in the community to evaluate you based on their doctors and see if it matches up with maybe doctor letters you have, your diagnosis, because this is what the VA needs, and Social Security too. They'll send you through the same process, but they need an incident that occurred in the military or in civilian, something you may experience as a civilian, a current diagnosis, current treatment for that diagnosis, and then what is called for the VA either a nexus letter or could be called a DBQ. They always change it all the time. So most of the time it's a nexus letter. So what the nexus letter is, it basically makes a connection between your military service and what's currently your issues right now. And here's where a lot of veterans get confused, because the doctors and the VA, whether it's not just your C&P exam, but doctors in general, they can say, how can, once again, onset PTSD or back pain, how can you prove that something happened to you while you're in the military or civilian life? And it's been 5 years, and how come you never put a claim in since before? Remember, again, onset PTSD, if that's what it relates to, or some sort of mental health. So you can state, okay, doc, I witnessed X, Y, and Z while in the military. It did affect me. I also fell and broke my foot and hurt my back. So now you have to try to make that connection. So the difficult part is sometimes they do not like writing that letters, because that equates to you getting your percentage and getting what you deserve, the benefit you deserve. And not just to give it to you, but what you deserve and what you've been through and what you're currently dealing with. But the beauty too sometimes is they allow us to go out in the community, and that's what I try to work with these doctors in the community, to write these letters for these individuals suffering and who've fallen through the cracks due to their mental or physical health. Write the letters for them, write the Nexus letter, write the good notes, and then submit it through an accredited agent, a VSO, or a lawyer, or have them submit it on their own to get that increase. Another thing that can help you too is a personal statement, which is right here, and supporting statements. So personal statements is something you personally write, what you've experienced, and have that as a letter and submit that at the same time when you submit your claims. Supporting statements could be a buddy letter, or it could be from a friend. So a buddy letter is someone you might have been in the military with who experienced those similar situations with you, or seen you experience certain situations. It could be a family member. So let's say you have a spouse who was married to you while you're in the military, experienced what you dealt with while in the military because you maybe verbalized that or acted differently while in. So they can possibly write that support letter or buddy letter on behalf of your claim to help you as well. Track your symptoms, criminal records, work evaluations, excuse me. And as stated, increase your ratings. And like I stated before, the TDIU, which can bring you from that 70, 80, 90% range to get paid at that 100% rate. And there's so many other programs that are included in that 100% rating or TDIU program as well. And this kind of, like stated, falls in line with how Social Security works too, because they need very similar documentation as well, and it's a fight dealing with them. Usually how VA and or Social Security works is they may give you VA first, may give you a certain percentage. That percentage doesn't match up with, like I stated earlier, where you're at. So you're going to fight that. You're going to put in an appeal, or there's different types of measures you can go about, increasing your rate. Appeals can take a lengthy process depending how many people are in the appeal program. Usually here where I live, since I do meetings with these leadership of the VA as the chairman, right now regular supplemental claims are about, I believe last I heard last month was about 130, 40 days. Then like I said, then if you appeal it, or depending what route you want to go, that's another process. But continue your fight. Don't give up, because that's what they want you to do, because therefore no compensation or no help, and you continue being a patient under them. And then as well as Social Security, there's different steps as well. They can't approve you right away. Another thing they look at too is your age. So if you're younger, they can look, you can improve with your health over the years, but that's not always necessarily the case. Everything, remember, once again, is case by case scenario. But if, let's say, you get approved off the bat, hey, that's good. You got everything in line that you needed for your documentation to get approved. But then if you get this approved, that can be very frustrating for VA and or Social Security too, because you can't move on with your life because you're having financial issues. So that's saying, again, once back to Social Security, let's say you get denied, you put in your appeal, that gets denied again. Now, the third step usually is you have to have a hearing with a judge or a hearing officer too. So that lengthy process can take anywhere between 6 months to 3 years. But the beauty in all of this is, if once you do get approved for all of this and you have everything lined up, they have back pay. So imagine now you get the back pay for putting in that 2 to 3 year fight or longer. A lot of people wait long too. But another thing you can do, as stated earlier with the VA side with Social Security, is try to hire a lawyer to help fight the case, so you don't have to go through that mentally. They handled everything for you. I don't know what you're saying. Vom today. But thank you for joining. Appreciate it. So this concludes our Mental Health Monday broadcast for today. Next week, I should have a guest, and the following week, I should have a guest, and we will talk about other issues that relate to mental health and get to know them a little bit and their story and ways that they cope positively to help with their mental health and learn how to control it and live with that. So once again, thank you for joining the live. Hopefully you gained some valuable knowledge out of, the resources that I provided. And once again, please reach out to somebody if you need help. And I hope you all have a blessed Monday.